And that's something. So this has been day 3. So it's been 72 hours since I have completed the oil change and have added the AT205. Okay, so today I'm going to be doing something that I've been putting off for quite some time. I've got a little oil drip under my Durango, and I'm going to see if I can solve it by using AT205 instead of doing a major engine repair. Even though this engine is in real good shape for being 20 years old, it's had that small oil drip for a little bit now, and I am about ready to do something about it. So let's get underneath the vehicle, and I'm going to show you how much oil I'm actually losing. Okay, and as you can see, this is what the puddle looks like after my Durango has been sitting for 12 hours. Those 2 little puddles, and this is what it looks like up close. You can see the size of them relative to my hands. This is coming off of the rear of the engine, so that means it's going to be the rear main seal. And now we're underneath the vehicle where you can see a little bit more clearly where that drip is coming from. You can see the oil drain plug right in the center of your screen for reference. That's on the back of the engine oil pan. And then the 2 drips, there's one right there, and there's one on the other side right there. So those are the 2 drips that I'm seeing on my rubber mat within a 12-hour time span. And that looks to me that it's coming from no other place other than the rear main seal, because it's where the transmission and the engine bolt together, and it's not transmission fluid, or it'll be reddish in color. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do an oil change, and we're going to add the AT205 along with the new oil, and then we're going to test drive it for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to let the vehicle sit overnight and see if it solves our drip. Okay, so now it's time to drop the oil. I've ran the engine to get the oil all nice and hot for about 10 minutes, which is always a good idea, because that way all the dirt and debris that's in that engine oil gets circulated, and it stands a better chance of coming out with the old engine oil when it drains. Alright, so now we're going to drop that oil. And just as a note, it's always a good idea to wear gloves, and of course have a good pair of safety glasses on when you're underneath the vehicle to avoid getting oil splattered in your eyes. Okay, so now underneath the vehicle, you're going to need a 13mm to break that oil drain plug on the 4.7 liter engine. And just a little tip for you, if that drain plug is hard to get out, just put you an extension on the end of your socket wrench, and that'll give you just enough leverage that you can break that drain plug loose, because it will seize up over time. Alright, finally got that thing broken loose, and now we're going to drain the oil. Alright, and the oil is now finishing up draining, and we're just cleaning up our drain plug a little bit, and everything looks good. Threads look nice, and that seal looks okay. I've never had an issue with oil leaking past this drain plug. And it's always a good idea when you're draining your oil to go ahead and loosen your oil fill cap. That way you allow the crankcase to breathe, and everything drains out nice and smooth. I'm just going to stick that up there, out of the way. And it's always a good idea to inspect down in there to make sure there's no gunk. Sometimes it'll foam up in there and you'll get some buildup in there, but mine looks pretty good right now. Okay, and now it's time to take my oil filter off, and this can be a little messy. So the very best thing to do is go ahead and put you a rag up through this access door where you take the filter off at, because that oil is going to come down right on this cross member right here, and it's going to make a mess. So unless you want to take this whole cover down right here, this is the best thing to do. So now I've got that rag situated right there, and then when I take that filter loose, all that oil is going to drain right down there on that cloth, instead of going all within this cross member right here, which is a horrible mess to clean up, and it'll drip for days through all these little crevices. And my handy dandy little oil filter wrench makes taking this filter off a breeze. Okay, so old oil filter is now off, and I've made sure that my gasket has come down with the old filter. Sometimes that gasket will want to stay up on the engine block, so you got to make sure that it comes down with the old filter. Okay, my little technique worked like a charm. Didn't get any oil up there on that cross member. Pull that down out of the way. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a rag, and I'm going to wipe the mating surface where the new seal is going to hit the engine block on that new oil filter. And I'm also putting a coat of oil on this new seal before I spin it on to the engine block. That way you'll get a nice tight seal. Okay, so now the oil filter is installed, hand tight. You don't want to tighten it any more than that. Now I'm going to install my drain plug and tighten it down. And we're just going to want to snug that up good. You definitely don't want to over tighten it. And now I've just taken a little bit of parts cleaner and I've sprayed it up under here just to make sure everything is cleaned off really good. Okay, so while not perfect, I can tell that everything is nice and clean up here, so when I finish my oil change and my AT205 treatment, I can come back after a day or so, and I can tell by looking at this whether I have solved my problem or not. If I'd left it all dirty and not wiped away the leakage that was there, then I might not be able to tell whether I solved my problem very well or not, so this way I will know for sure. Okay, and now I'm at the point where I'm ready to put my oil in. I have a 4.7 liter engine and it takes 6 quarts of oil and it requires 5W30 weight, so that's what I'm putting in. Now about halfway through I'm going to stop and I'll tell you why. So that's going to be about the 3-quart mark, give or take. This box just happens to be 6 quarts, which is exactly what I need, so it makes it easy. Okay, and that's about 3 quarts, so I'm going to stop. Okay, and the reason I'm stopping halfway through is because I'm going to now put in my AT205 Re-seal. And I want to be able to wash it into the crankcase and mix it in good with the other portion of the oil I'm going to put in. Alright, so this is what the AT205 looks like. So this is 8 ounces total, which is exactly what I need. If you flip on the back, it actually says 8 ounces will treat a 6-quart capacity, which is exactly by chance what I need it for, because my engine holds 6 quarts of oil. Okay, we've got the seal broke on here, and now we're going to pour the entire contents right in the crankcase. And if you'll notice, this is a clear liquid. This is not a chunky stop leak, which is what you want. You want something nice and clear. This is actually a plasticizer, which is what makes it work so well with rubber seals. And since my rear main seal is made out of rubber, which most all rear main seals are, except the ones made with Teflon, which are common in some of the older General Motors products, but most all rear main seals are rubber, which this is perfect for. So real quick, let me do some math for you. If your engine holds 5 quarts of oil instead of 6, how much of this do you put in? Well, I've already figured that out for you. If your engine only holds 5 quarts of oil instead of 6, you need to measure out 6.7 ounces of this Re-seal. You don't put in the whole 8 ounces. Now, if your engine holds 4 quarts of oil, you're going to need 5.3 ounces of this. So you need to get a measuring cup and measure it out. Not a big deal. Okay, now we're ready to add in the remainder of my oil. Now, I'm actually not going to put in the entire 6 quarts here. I'm going to leave out approximately 8 ounces to make room for the 8 ounces of Re-seal that I put in. So if you want to get technical, I'm going to put in 6 quarts of oil minus 8 ounces. So therefore the 8 ounces of Re-seal that I just put in will be a combined total of 6 quarts, which is the capacity of my engine. So since 32 ounces is in a quart, 8 ounces is going to be 1/4 of a quart less than I need. So I'm going to estimate it here and leave about 8 ounces of oil left in this jug, and then that'll be perfect. And then of course I'm going to check the oil to make sure that everything is right on track. Okay, and I'm going to estimate that is about the level that I need, 6 quarts minus 8 ounces. Okay, and this box of oil does have a little sight glass in the back of it, so I can tell that that is about 8 ounces left in that box, give or take. But the true test is when I check the level of the oil. Alright, I'm going to put my oil fuel cap back on. And now we're going to start it up and let it run for a second, cut it back off, and we'll check our oil level. Okay, you heard that little bit of chattering right there when I first started the engine. That's normal until the oil is pumped back up into the valve lifters. But I will have to admit, it's always scary when I change the oil and I hear that noise when I first start it up. I'm going to let that run just a second, then we're going to turn it back off and check our oil level. Alright, I've let the engine sit for a few minutes. Now let's check that oil level. Okay, and I'm satisfied with that. That's right at the full mark. And just as a note, it's always a good idea to check your engine oil on a level surface, because if not, it can kind of throw you for a loop and give you an inaccurate reading. Okay, so the thing to do now is to test drive it. And I'm going to test drive it for about 30 minutes because you want that Re-seal to be mixed up really well in the crankcase. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to park it in my driveway for 24 hours and we'll check and see if our leak has been solved. Okay, so it's been just about 24 hours. I put a fresh piece of cardboard underneath my vehicle last night, and we're going to see if we have any drippage. And we do. We have 1 drip. So, it's an improvement. I'm going to be real with you. It didn't totally fix it. Last time, before we started this process, we had 2 drips. One right there and one right there. Let's crawl under there and take a peek. Okay, so let's see what we got. Looks like we still got a little bit of drip right there, but on this side it looks pretty clean. what we're going to do, and this doesn't totally surprise me, sometimes with this sealer you have to let it cycle through your engine a little bit longer than 24 hours, so we're going to give it another 24 hours. But I don't like to sugarcoat anything. I want to let you know how it is. I want to give you a totally honest review of this product. So I would say it's helped, but it has not fixed it. I mean, we've gone from 2 drips down to 1 drip within 24 hours time. So let's give it another 24 hours. I'm gonna take a rag, I'm gonna clean that off, and we're gonna come back tomorrow morning and see if it's any better. Okay, so it's been another 24 hours. I drove the Durango right much yesterday, and now I've let it sit again for another 24 hours. Let's see what it looks like. It looks like I got that same spot of oil there, although it may be a little bit smaller. And it looks to be about the same deal as yesterday. We still have a drip of oil right there on that side, but this side is clean. Okay, so I'm gonna dry it off again. Okay, and I'm gonna give it one more 24-hour period. I'm gonna be driving it again today, and we'll see how it looks tomorrow morning. Okay, so it's been one more 24-hour period, and let's pull out our piece of cardboard, and we're gonna see if we have another spot of oil on there like we did yesterday morning. I'll put another fresh piece of cardboard under there so I would know. And how about that? I do not see a dribble of oil there this time. That is quite an improvement, because first 2 days I saw some spots of oil after parking it. Let's crawl under there and take a look, see if there's anything dribbling on the back of the engine. And how about that? I don't even see a dribble on the back side of the engine like I have been seeing the past 2 mornings. Isn't that something? So this has been day 3. So it's been 72 hours since I have completed the oil change and have added the AT205. Okay, so here are some final thoughts regarding this AT205. My rear main seal has been leaking for several years now, and I've been trying to justify fixing it. But to replace a rear main seal in the engine is very expensive, and my vehicle's over 20 years old, so it's hard to justify that expense. Being this is an honest review of this product, I was actually expecting to come on here today and tell you that this didn't totally fix my problem, but it fixed it partially. But 72 hours later, it seems to have fixed it. So lesson to learn here. This resealer takes some time to recondition the rubber seals, so don't expect it to work overnight. In my case, it took 3 days. And it wouldn't totally surprise me to see another little dribble of oil a few weeks down the road. But I can tell you, if this goes a good long way into solving my problem where I don't have to physically replace that seal, it's going to be worth its weight in gold. And I can only assume that the more I drive, the more this is going to work by reconditioning all the seals in the engine. So one thing I did want to mention to you, this is good in engines and transmissions, along with power steering systems. And you could even use it in differentials. What you do not want to use it in, it tells you right here, do not use in brake systems. And there's a good reason for that. Brake systems are very complicated, high pressure systems, and you do not want to use anything in there like a sealer. And the last thing that I'll mention is this is not a one and done situation. You're going to want to add a bottle of this every time you do an oil change if it's working for you. So I hope this tutorial on how to install it correctly helps you out. You do want to do it at the time of an oil change. You don't want to put it in dirty oil, so that's why I did it at the time of an oil change. So I hope this makes your purchasing decision a little bit easier, and thanks for watching.